So I was standing in just about this exact location when I first started to feel at home in Oxford. A vegetarian serving a plate of turkey to Mary Eaton in front of 120 people I barely knew. So if that doesn't sound particularly homey to you, you're not alone. But I need to back up a little bit. I have been so lucky to always find myself in places where I felt like I belonged. I'm Pennsylvanian, born and raised, and home has always been the rolling hills I could see outside of the bedroom window that I'd slept in since birth. I transplanted across the country for a university, but I had already fallen in love with Stanford's campus, and walks among the palm trees were the perfect cure for homesickness. I moved across the country precisely because I wanted to find new communities away from my hometown. And I fell into some pretty incredible collections of humans. And after 4 years in California, I felt like I'd maxed out my community quota. There was home, and there was home away from home, and there wouldn't be room for anything else. I'd been fed a lot of stereotypes about Oxford. It's prim and proper and hierarchical and cold and rainy, and it's really hard to get to know your professors, and everyone always dresses really nice. My friend even told me that there were no fresh vegetables in Oxford, and I believed her. I was excited for the academic opportunities, sure, but I was dreading the move. So that brings us back to here. I had been living in Oxford for just over 2 months, and I was coordinating a 120-person, zero-waste Rhodes Thanksgiving dinner. I had been so busy in the days leading up to Thanksgiving, organizing spreadsheets and peeling carrots, that I hadn't had time to realize how profoundly sad I was to be celebrating this holiday without my family. In that moment, Oxford did not feel like home. In fact, it felt like the kind of place where no one even noticed when I took a break to cry in the Rhodes House bathroom. But in hindsight, that was the first time that I let Oxford coexist with these other important places in my life. I was serving my mom's famous cranberry orange relish recipe, using confidence in the kitchen that I'd only gained in my 50-person cooperative house at Stanford, to 120 people, some of whom are now some of my closest friends. In this somewhat mundane moment of turkey serving, I was opening myself up to the fact that home can exist in more than 2 places. And that was not the only such mundane moment. There was a particularly beautiful sunset over Port Meadow, a really great first walk with a new friend, staying up late with my housemate, homemade squash soup, mugs of tea, wearing my great Aunt Marge's old dress to a formal dinner, seeing the wonder in my parents' eyes when we walked around Oxford and I ran into people I knew on the streets. Going across the street for the first time and remembering to look the right way as I was crossing. Navigating in Tesco, more mugs of tea, picnics, the coach ride back to Oxford after I was home for winter break. Going down the Cowley Road, stopping at each little market and buying spices along the way. Being at home this summer, staring out over my favorite rolling hills while Skyping with my friend from Oxford. None of these moments were epiphanies. There was no one time that I said, aha, Stanford is home, or aha, Oxford is home now. See, it was really confusing. There was no one moment. But it was the gradual accumulation, the snowballing of moments that made me realize I was carving a place for myself here in Oxford. If you'd asked me this time last year, I would have said that this was just a 2-year transition from one phase to the next. I would have told you that Oxford is not really my kind of place. Now, I say that I'm walking home when I head to the little house in Cowley that I share with 3 other roadies, because I am. I don't have any secrets for navigating this transition, but I do have 3 things that Oxford has shown me. Sometimes, home can exist in more than one place. Sometimes, you find home when you're not even looking for it. And sometimes, you won't know that you found it until long after you have. Thank you.